Hi, Patterson Library friends. This is Miss Amy. I am coming to my baby and toddler baby bookworms today with some stories about bouncing. Do you like to bounce? Hey, Bookworm Bear, do you like to bounce? Boing, boing. Oh my goodness, Bookworm Bear is a great bouncer. How about your friend Snowman? Does he like to bounce? He doesn't? Let's see. Snowman, do you like to bounce? Whoop. Oh. Snowmen can't bounce very well, can they? Once you build your snowman, he might wiggle a little, but if he tried to bounce, boing, I'm afraid he might fall right over. And when we take all that time to build a snowman, we like them to stay nice and tall for a while. You know, I'm filming this a day before story time, and today is sunny and warm. And if you built a snowman, he might get a little bit melty today. But tomorrow, the weatherman says it's going to be cold and stay cold for many days. So you'll be able to build some new snowmen that will last a long, long time. Bookworm Bear is going to sit right with me for a minute before I get my books out, because we're going to do a couple of bouncing rhymes. So snuggle in with your grown-up and get ready to say some bouncy poems. Here's the first one. Bounce me, on your knee. Bounce me, pretty please. Bounce me, here and there. Bounce me, everywhere. Did your grown-up pick you up really big for a big bounce at the end? Let's do that one again. Bounce me, on your knee. Bounce me, pretty please. Bounce me, here and there. Bounce me, are you ready? Everywhere. Whoa, that was a big bounce. It's so fun to bounce, and if you're little enough to be in a lap, that's a fun way to do these poems. And if you're bigger, you can stand up and do your own bouncing on the ground. And in one of my stories today, there's going to be some bouncing other places in the house too. Let's do another bouncing poem. Here we go. I'm bouncing everywhere. I bounce into the air. I'm bouncing like a ball. I bounce and then I fall. Can you fall down on the ground? Let's do it again and get ready at the end to do a big fall onto the ground, but be careful. I don't want anybody to hurt yourselves. I'm bouncing everywhere. I'm bouncing in the air. I'm bouncing like a ball. I bounce and then I fall. All falling down. Now, if you were here at the library with me, this would be a day I would get the parachute out. We would get our big parachute out. We would all hold it, and we would throw balls on top that we could bounce. If you have a bed sheet at home, or another big tarp, or a tablecloth, and some of those lightweight plastic balls, you might want to do that with your family. You'll need 3 or 4 or 5 people to all be around the edge, and you can bounce little bounces and big bounces of something at home, like a ball, or, well, probably a ball is the best thing to use. So let's read a story about bouncing today. Bookworm Bear, you can stay right here. My first one is a board book, so it's not very large, but the pictures take up almost the whole page, so I think you'll be able to see it all right. This is called Jump by, it's a hard name to pronounce, Tatsuhide Matsuka. That's a great name. Jump. A frog jumps. Boing. A kitten jumps. Boing. You can help me with the boings from home if you'd like. A dog jumps. Boing, 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 boing. game. Grasshopper bumps. I'm sorry, a grasshopper jumps. Boing! A rabbit jumps. Oh, boing, boing. A snail jumps. Maybe not. I've never seen a snail jump. Mother and chick jump. Boing, boing. A fish jumps. Have you seen a fish jump? Boing. Sometimes they do. And I jump too. Can you scrunch down a little like that little girl? Get ready. Boing, 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 boing. Whoa, what great jumping you all did today. And that book's called Jump. You can come and check that one out here at Patterson Library if you'd like to. My next story is called Bounce, Bounce, Bounce. Like I said, it's all about bouncing today. This story is written by Kathy Henderson, and the illustrations or pictures are by Carol Thompson. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Chairs are for sitting on. Bounce, bounce, bounce. I told you in this book they're going to be bouncing on some things in the house that maybe we shouldn't bounce on. Beds are for lying on. Dance, dance, dance. Teddies are for cuddling. Up in the air and down. Oh, Bookworm Bear, he's bouncing just like you did. And clothes are for putting on. Round and round and round. Saucepans are for cooking in. Crash, crash, crash. It's making that spoon bounce on the pan and it's crashing. Water is for washing with. Splash, splash, splash. Cribs are for sleeping in. Squeak, squeak, squeak. And parents, what are parents for? Sleep, sleep, sleep. So after all your bouncing and crashing and splashing, snuggle up with your grown-up to sleep, sleep, sleep. That book's got lots of things that we can do in our home to have fun with bouncing and splashing and jumping. I have a couple more poems we're going to do, and we've done a couple of these before. So we're going to do Trot, Trot to London, because trotting is sort of like bouncing on a horse. So Bookworm Bear is going to help me, and you can get in your lap near you, or you could just pretend you're on a horse if you're standing up in your room. Trot, trot to London, trot, trot to Dover. Look out, baby, or you might fall over. Trot, trot to Boston, trot, trot to Lynn. Look out, baby, or you might fall in. Ooh. So if you're on a lap, your parents can just stretch your legs apart, you can fall. Or if you're up in a chair, you can fall gently all the way to the ground. Let's do that one again. Trot, trot to London, trot, trot to Dover. Look out, baby, or you might fall over. Trot, trot to Boston, trot, trot to Lynn. Look out, baby, or you might fall in. Whee! So after we're bouncing, sometimes it's hard to settle back in for a story. Let's do a wiggle rhyme before we have our next story. 3 little fingers go wiggle, 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 wiggle. 3 little fingers go wiggle, 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 and now they're on my nose. See if you can stay with me. I'm gonna go a little faster. 3 little fingers go wiggle, 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 wiggle. 3 little fingers go wiggle, 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 and now they're on my knee. Are yours on your knee? 3 little fingers go wiggle, 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 wiggle. 3 little fingers go wiggle, 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 and now they're on my toes. 3 little fingers go wiggle, 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 wiggle. 3 little fingers go wiggle, 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 and now they're on my shoulder. One more time. 3 little fingers go wiggle, 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 wiggle. 3 little fingers go wiggle, 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 and now they're on my head. And now they're on my cheek. And now they're on my neck. And now they're on my belly. And now they're in my lap. Our last story today is called, you guessed, Bounce. This one has lots of different animals doing some fun bouncing. I found some other books in our library system called Bounce Time, and another one called Who Hops. There are so many fun books about jumping and hopping, and I hope you'll stop in at Patterson Library and pick out a couple of books. We're open 10 to 6, Monday through Friday, so you can come in and pick out books even though we don't have regular story times here in person and we don't have the toys out right now. But do come on down and pick out some great books to read. My last book, Bookworm Bear is going to sit right down there, is Bounce by Doreen Cronin and Scott Mention. Ooh, I like that end page. Doesn't really have bouncing, but it has a nice red and yellow grid design. Bounce. Come on, let's, and you can do these at home. Let's bounce like a bunny. Can you turn into a bunny and bounce? Hip hop, hip hop. Let's bounce like a frog. Ker plop, ker plop. I'll bounce to the left and I'll bounce to the right. Bees bounce in the daytime and bats bounce in the night. You can bounce a ball right off your hands or bounce it off your foot. I can bounce a beach ball on the tip of my nose. Can you? Looks like that little seal's going to. If you bounce into a puddle, it's best to bounce in boots. If you must bounce in the market, it's best not to bounce in fruits. Oh my goodness, what a mess that would be. Bouncing with your best friend is called a bouncing double. Bouncing on the couch is called big bouncing trouble. It's hard to bounce in roller skates. It's fun to bounce on poles. If hippos bounce from place to place, imagine all the holes. If bouncing in the sun gets hot, bounce back into the shade. A bounce can turn into a bump into a fall. But it's better to have bounced and bumped than never to have bounced at all. There is so much fun in bouncing, isn't there? So I have a little song I'm going to sing while I blow my bubbles today. And then I'll also put on a little bit of music. Oops, forgot to turn on my thing, but I'll have it queued up. And here is my little song. Blowing bubbles every day, I blow them all. Whoops, wait a minute. Blowing bubbles every day, I blow them all around. I like to watch them float on high or pop them on the ground. When you blow bubbles, It's so much fun to watch them bounce. Sometimes they sort of bounce on the ground. Sometimes they pop immediately, but mine are bouncing a little on the carpet. Now, I've told you before, but with these next chilly days coming up, it would be great fun to try blowing some bubbles outside, because if it's cold enough, they might freeze. And that can be very interesting and very scientific. So let me go to our Let's Play song and do a few more bubbles for you.
Let's play, come on this jazzy jango day, let's play.
Ooh, that was a good one.
Rain or shine, we'll have some fun. Let's
I hope you have a lot of fun playing
on this razzle dazzle day.
on this sunny day that'll be yesterday when you see me. And on these next few days, bundle up
Let our voices really
and go outside and play. And if we get some fresh snow, you can bounce in it too.
Like the birdies tweet, tweet.
You can do a little dance bouncing while I'm blowing bubbles with this great song by Raffi.
Oh yeah, jump and jive a step or two, let's dance. Hey, hey, playing with the swinging groove. Yeah, ba ba, da da, bum bum yeah.
And that's all for today. So you guys have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.